My closest friend wanted to steal the spotlight at my wedding so badly that she smashed my face. Can you even imagine someone trying to hijack your wedding day, then utterly destroying it in front of everyone? Well, my so-called best friend didn't just try, she succeeded, until she spectacularly failed, setting off a chain of events that exposed a decade and a half of manipulation and left me wondering who I ever really was. Kayla and I met in sophomore year, and from day one, she made it abundantly clear who was the sun and who was merely a planet orbiting her. She chose me from a whole cafeteria full of kids, deciding I was worth her time. And for 15 long years, I repaid that privilege by shrinking myself, making room for her larger-than-life personality every single time. She was loud, she was fearless, and she could make even the most mundane day feel like an event. If you asked anyone in our friend group who my best friend was, they'd say Kayla.
Why?
Because she said it first, and she said it loudest. When Nate proposed, I called her before anyone else. And what did she say? Not congratulations, but finally, now I have a reason to look amazing. I laughed it off just like I always did. That was just Kayla, right? Being annoyed at her was always more effort than just agreeing. She appointed herself to jobs no one offered her. She lied to the florist, claiming she was my maid of honor when she absolutely was not. She dictated what my bridesmaids should wear, then told me they had all agreed on it themselves. When I found my dream dress, she gave it this slow, appraising look and then said, "It's cute. A little plain for my taste, but it suits you." Every single thing from her was a tiny cut, delivered with a smile, and if you flinched, she'd snap, "Oh, I'm just joking. Don't be so sensitive," making you the bad guy for noticing her cruelty. At my engagement party, she wore a floor-length white dress. My Aunt Bathsheba, bless her heart, walked right up and asked if Kayla was the bride. Kayla actually put her hand to her chest, batting her eyelashes, and said, "Oh, this old thing? I didn't even think about it." Honey, she thought about it. Oh, she definitely thought about it. Then, at my bridal shower, she stood up, unasked, and spun a tale for 40 people about how she had introduced me to Nate. It was pure fiction. I met Nate at work. But she told it anyway, and the whole room clapped for her while I sat there, stunned, with my hands in my lap. Nate, bless his heart, never liked her. He told me that within the first month we were together. He said flat out, "She treats you like a backup singer in your own life." I'd try to defend her. "Oh, she means well." But he'd just shake his head. "No, she doesn't. But it's your call." Every good thing that ever happened to me came with a small tax, a Kayla tax, and I paid it every time, without ever even admitting it was a tax. When I got a promotion, she'd launch into a detailed account of her own interview that week. It was exhausting. 2 weeks before the wedding, she called me about the toasts. I told her the list was set. "Oh, I'll just say a few words," she chirped. "People expect it from me. I'm basically the main friend." Then, she went behind my back, called my caterer, and moved herself to the head table. When I moved her back, she got dramatic. "You want me in the corner at your wedding? That's honestly hurtful." Of course, she ended up at the head table. I always moved her back. The wedding day itself started fine, but then Kayla arrived. She was in a bright red dress, cut down past her ribs, and she deliberately walked in front of me twice while the photographer was trying to get shots. During dinner, she kept standing up, checking on things that absolutely did not need checking, and every time, every eye in the room went to her. That was the whole point. Then, she literally snatched the microphone out of the best man's hand mid-toast and announced, "Let me just add something because I know the bride best," and proceeded to talk about herself for 2 full minutes. My cousin Brennis leaned over and whispered, "Is she the wedding planner?" I just sighed. "No, she's just Kayla." Nate leaned in from the other side, his voice low. "Say the word." "She's gone." I told him it was fine. I wish I hadn't. Then came the cake. It was perfect, white, with small gold flowers. I'd picked it out myself and, honestly, loved it more than almost anything else about that day. Nate and I cut the first slice, everyone cheered, he fed me a bite, I fed him one. It was sweet, normal, ours. And then, Kayla pushed through the front row laughing. Okay. Let's make this fun. Before I even registered what was happening, one hand was on the back of my head, the other came up, a fistful of cake in it, and she drove it into my face. My cheek, my mouth, my hair, my veil. 3 hours of hair and makeup, gone in one sickening second. The room went quiet. That ugly, awful quiet where you could hear a fork scrape a plate. Kayla was still laughing. Oh, come on. It's a joke. Don't be so uptight. I couldn't speak. I just stood there, frosting dripping down my jaw, feeling every single person in that room trying to decide what to do with their face. Nate put down his plate. He stepped between us, calm but lethal, and said, "You need to leave." Kayla rolled her eyes. Relax, it's cake. She can wash it off. God, you two are so serious. That's when Nate unleashed. You wore white to her engagement party. You lied about introducing us. And now you put your hands on my wife at her own wedding. Get your bag. She looked around the room, desperate, hunting for someone to save her, and then put on her hurt face, the one I'd watched work 100 times over 15 years. Wow, she said, her voice dripping with false betrayal. After everything I did for this wedding? I planned half of it. Nate's voice cut through the air. You planned nothing. You showed up and made it about you. My Uncle Riche was already standing. So was one of the groomsmen. Kayla saw them both. She snatched her purse and spat. Fine. This wedding was boring anyway. Riche walked her to the door. It was 9:14 p.m. I know the exact time, because of what happened 3 weeks later. Nate, right there in front of everyone, gently wiped my face with a napkin and said, loud enough for the entire room to hear, "Sorry about that." The trash took itself out. People actually laughed, the real kind of laughter, and the music came back on. The rest of the night was better, so much better, without her in it. We flew out the next morning. I put my phone away, convincing myself the hardest part was finally over. When we landed a week later, there were 47 messages waiting for me. I am not exaggerating. 47. Old classmates, girls from our friend group, even someone I hadn't spoken to since college. Every single one of them said some version of the same thing. Kayla is really hurt. She says you threw her out. Don't you think that was a little extreme? She had spent my entire honeymoon telling everyone her version, and she had a 7-day head start on a story I didn't even know existed. In her version, the cake was just playful, harmless fun. Nate, apparently, lost his mind. He screamed at her. He grabbed her arm. He made her feel unsafe. That was the word she gave everyone. Unsafe. I called the friend I trusted most. She answered in that soft, careful voice people use when they think you're fragile. Kayla was sobbing when she told me. She said gently. She said he grabbed her arm. My blood ran cold. That never happened. I insisted. There were 100 people in that room. My uncle walked her out. There was a pause. Well, my friend said, she just seemed really upset. Maybe you should just talk to her. I called 2 more. One believed me immediately. The other said she didn't want to pick sides, that we needed to work it out between us, which, as we all know, is what people say when they've already picked. Nate listened to my half of all 3 calls. When I finally hung up, he looked at me, his eyes serious. She's not trying to get you back, he said. She's making me the villain, so you feel guilty enough to let her in again. And that was it. That was exactly her play. If Nate was dangerous, then nothing at the wedding was her fault. And I wasn't a bride who had been humiliated. I was just a wife being controlled. That night, she texted me. Hey, I know things got out of hand. I've been crying every day since the wedding. I just wanted to make things fun. You know me. I never meant to hurt you. Can we talk? I miss my best friend. I read it 3 times, and I felt the old pull. The one that says she's trying. Just give her one more chance. That's what good friends do. Nate sat down next to me, but he didn't reach for my phone. He just said, if you want to answer her, answer her. But read it again, and count how many times she says, and count how many times she says sorry.
So I did.
11 eyes. 0 sorries. 2 days later. I guess you're ghosting me after 15 years of friendship. That says a lot about you. That afternoon, Nate really changed you. The old you would never do this. That night, fine. Ignore me. But when you need me, don't come running back.
Guilt.
Then blame. Then a threat. All in about 72 hours. I screenshotted every single one of them and put them in a folder on my phone, because some part of me already knew I was going to need to prove I wasn't the crazy one. Then, my husband's phone lit up on the nightstand next to me. She had gone around me. The message read, "You turned her against me. I hope you're happy. She was my friend before she was your wife." That, my friends, is not someone trying to repair a friendship. That is someone trying to open a seam in a marriage. I told him to block her. I blocked her too. 3 days after that, the doorbell rang on a Saturday morning. I was at the counter, coffee in hand, old t-shirt on. Nate was still asleep upstairs. Kayla was on my porch. She had a gift bag and that familiar Kayla smile, the one she wears when she expects everyone to be thrilled to see her. I opened the door, but I didn't step aside. She held up the bag. "I brought you a wedding present. Can I come in?" I said simply, "I didn't invite you." Her smile froze, like someone had hit pause on a video. "I know," she pleaded, "but we can't fix this over text." Then she cried. And it wasn't her usual, controlled crying. This was messy. Her nose went red. She was gulping air. "I don't have anyone else," she choked out. "You're my only real friend. Everyone else just tolerates me, and I know that. I know I make everything about me, and I don't know how to stop." In 15 years, I had never heard her admit any of that out loud. It sounded true, because it was true, and I almost reached out to put my hand on her arm. Then she wiped her face and added, "And honestly, if Nate hadn't made such a scene, none of this would have blown up." There it was. She opened the door with something real, something raw, so she could walk the lion in right behind it. I looked at her, truly looked at her for the first time. "You smashed cake into my face at my wedding," I said, my voice steady. "Nobody made you do that." "It was a joke," she protested. "I've seen it in 100 videos. Couples do it all the time." "Couples do it to each other," I countered. "You were a guest, and you put your hands on me." She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again, and nothing came out. Nate came down the stairs behind me. "Flat," he said, his voice quiet but firm. "I thought we were clear." Kayla's jaw set. "I'm not here for you," she snapped. "I'm here for my friend." Nate didn't miss a beat. "Your friend didn't invite you." Then she looked at me, leaned in, and delivered the line she knew would land. "Are you really going to let him talk for you? You used to have your own voice." And Nate did the best thing he has ever done for me. He went quiet. He didn't step in front of me. He just stood a little behind my shoulder, and he waited. He let me decide. "Kayla," I said, my voice shaking, but I got every single word out. "I need you to leave. Not because Nate is telling me to, but because I'm telling you. Stop texting. Stop showing up. Stop telling people my husband put his hands on you." She dropped the gift bag on the porch, and it landed with a soft thud. 15 years, and this is how it ends?" she whispered, her voice full of false tears again. "You'll regret this when you realize he's the one who isolated you." She turned and walked to her car. Fast, just like she walked out of my reception. Nate put the gift bag in the garage that evening without opening it. For a week, it was quiet, and I let myself believe it was finally over. Then Brennis called. "Have you talked to anybody from your group this week?" Kayla had gone back out. She was telling people Nate was controlling. She was telling people I wanted to forgive her, but he wouldn't let me. I called the friend who had believed me before. "I'm not saying I believe her," she said, a nervous edge to her voice. "But are you okay?"
Like, really okay?
She was asking if I was safe. That's what Kayla had put in her head. "I believe you," she continued, "but she's very convincing when she cries." That, right there, was the entire problem in one devastating line. I could tell the truth in a phone call, but Kayla could outcry me in 30 seconds. I was never going to win a contest scored on tears. Nate looked at me. You don't fight a story with a better story, he said. You fight it with the record. And then he said the thing that changed everything. We paid a videographer $1,100. Where is the raw footage? I had completely forgotten it existed. We got the highlight film for minutes of slow motion and music 3 weeks after the wedding. I watched it once and never thought about it again. But raw footage? That's different. That's every card from every camera, unedited, with a time code burned into the corner of every single frame. I emailed the videographer that night. He sent a download link the next morning, 9 hours of files. Nate and I sat at the dining table, the laptop between us, and scrubbed through the reception. At 9:09 p.m., there's a wide shot of the cake table. You can see Kayla standing at the edge of the frame, not laughing, not caught up in anything, just watching us. Waiting. At 9:11, she moves. There is no angle where it looks like an accident. She takes the back of my head with her left hand, and she puts the cake into my face with her right, and she holds my head there for a full second before she lets go. At 9:13, Nate steps in. He never touches her. His hands stay at his sides the entire time, and the camera never once leaves them. At 9:14, Rish walks her out from about 4 feet away, and she is smiling on her way to the door. Not crying, smiling. The time code is in the corner of every frame of all of it. But that was only the first thing. The second came from a bridesmaid I'd barely spoken to since the wedding. I sent her the clip, and 40 minutes later, she sent me back a screenshot. It was from a group chat I wasn't in. 9 people, most of them from our friend group, started by Kayla 4 days before the wedding. The message was hers, time-stamped, with her name at the top. Watch me at the cake. It's going to be legendary. Underneath it, someone had replied with 3 laughing faces. 4 days before. Not a joke that got away from her. A plan she made, advertised, then performed, and then spent 3 weeks describing as something that just sort of happened to her. I sat and looked at that screenshot for a long time. Not because it hurt, though it did, but because for 15 years I had been arguing with a feeling. And now I was holding a document. The bridesmaid sent the rest of the chat, too. 40 screenshots. It was all there. Her asking who was bringing a camera. Her saying the red dress was going to do numbers. And then, after the wedding, in the same chat, her writing that she was going to let it cool off and do the apology in front of the family because I couldn't say no to her in front of people. That wasn't me guessing at her strategy. That was her strategy, written down by her in her own words, before she even ran it. There was a third thing. Looking for the videographer's invoice, I found the caterer thread from 6 weeks before the wedding. Kayla had emailed him directly. Her message said the bride had asked her to update the head table count, and she attached a new seating chart with her own name typed onto it. She had put my name in her mouth in writing. It was time-stamped on a Thursday at 2:41 in the afternoon. The same afternoon she called me and told me the seating chart was making her feel like an afterthought. 2 days later, Brennis texted me. Kayla had asked her mother what time the family cookout started because she wanted to come and clear the air. I called Bathsheba and told her Kayla was planning to show up. Let her come, my aunt said. Are you sure? I asked. I've been waiting 3 weeks for this, she replied. I forwarded her everything, the clip, the time codes, the screenshots, the caterer email. She called me back 40 minutes later and said one word. Good. The morning of the cookout, I woke up without my jaw clenched for the first time since the wedding. We got there early. Rish was at the grill by 9 a.m., tongs in one hand, a drink in the other. Brennis was lining up cups, all the handles facing the same way. I carried folding chairs, set out condiments. It felt so ordinary that I almost forgot why I had been braced all week. Nobody said her name. For about an hour, I actually relaxed, the real kind, where your shoulders just drop without you even telling them to. Then Brennis stopped mid-sentence and looked past my shoulder. I turned around. Kayla was coming through the gate in a sundress, hair down, a bottle in a gift bag, waving at people like she was just running a little late to a party she'd been invited to. She walked straight to me, not stopping for anyone. She looked down at me and said, loud enough for the entire yard to hear, "Hey, I wanted to say I'm sorry in person. in front of everyone, so you know I mean it. I stood up. I wasn't doing this looking up at her. The music was still going, and nobody was talking. Her eyes went wet right on cue, and she said, I was wrong. The cake thing was stupid. I got caught up in the moment, and I ruined your night, and I am so, so sorry. Then she let it hang there. If I said no, I was cold. If I said nothing, I was cruel. She built the field, put me on it, and dared me not to play, and she had won that game every single time for 15 years. But then she couldn't help herself. She wiped her eyes and added, I just hope Nate can forgive me, too. I know he's protective. I just don't want him to think I'm a bad person. Protective. One word, slid in sideways, reminding every person in that yard about the story she had been feeding our friends for 3 weeks. You got caught up in the moment? I asked. Yes, she said. What moment was that? I pressed. She blinked. At the cake. It was spur of the moment. I didn't think. I took my phone out of my back pocket and turned the screen around. 4 days before the wedding, you wrote. Watch me at the cake. It's going to be legendary. 9 people saw it. It's time-stamped. Her face did something I had never, ever seen it do. It stopped. Aunt Bathsheba stepped forward from where she had been standing, arms crossed, for the last 5 minutes. And the part where he grabbed you, Bathsheba said, her voice clear and strong. Say that part again out loud. Kayla stammered. I don't want to do this here. Bathsheba's eyes narrowed. You picked here. Then she continued. The videographer shot 9 hours of raw footage with a time code in the corner of every frame. 9:11 p.m. You take her head. 9:13 p.m. Nate steps in with his hands at his sides. 9:14 p.m. My brother walks you out, and you are smiling on the way to the door. Would you like to watch it, or would you like to keep talking? Kayla looked around the yard. She was doing what she always does, hunting for one crack. One person who would say this had gone far enough. Rish had set the tongs down. Brennis was standing behind my shoulder. Nate was 10 feet away, arms crossed, not moving, letting my family handle it. Not one person looked away. Not one person stepped in. She came for a stage, and she got a mirror. Bathsheba wasn't finished. One more. At the engagement party. What color was your dress? Kayla mumbled. I don't remember. I do, Bathsheba said, a chilling calm in her voice. So does the photographer. He shot 400 frames that night, and I have all of them. Kayla tried one last time. She forced a laugh. Okay, so you're all ganging up on me? I came here to apologize, and this is what I get. She turned to me, desperation in her eyes. Are you really going to stand there and let your family do this after 15 years? And there it was, the last move, the same one she'd been running since we were 16. Choose me over the people who love you. I looked at her, truly seeing her for the first time. Nobody is ganging up on you, Kayla, I said, my voice solid. They're reading what you wrote. She dropped it, all of it in about a second. The way a mask comes off when the string breaks. Her voice went hard and flat. Fine, throw it away. But don't act like you were so innocent. You were nobody in high school. I made you. I had been afraid of that sentence my whole adult life. And standing in that yard with the screenshot still open on my phone, it didn't land the way it used to. It didn't sting. It didn't make me doubt. You didn't make me, I said, meeting her gaze. You made sure I never forgot I needed you. And I believed it for 15 years. She had nothing. No spin, no redirect, no tears that were going to work on anyone standing on that grass. Rish came across the yard. I'm asking you the same way I asked you at the wedding, he said, quiet but firm. You can walk out on your own. She picked her gift bag up off the table. Her shoulders came down, and her voice dropped to almost nothing. You're going to be so lonely without me, she whispered. I was lonely with you, I replied, the truth of it hitting me like a physical blow. Every time something good happened to me, you had to do it bigger. I spent 15 years shrinking so you could feel tall. She turned and walked across the grass toward the gate. Nobody said her name. Nobody said, wait. At the gate, she stopped, her hand on the latch, and looked back at me. She opened her mouth. And for the first time since the day I met her, nothing came out. She closed it. She pushed the gate open, pulled it shut behind her, and the latch clicked. And that was the quietest sound I have ever heard. Bathsheba said, "Burgers are getting cold." A chair scraped on the patio. Somebody turned the music back up. I sat down between Nate and Brennis, put food on a plate, and ate it. The burger was overcooked because Rish had left the grill, but honestly, it was the best thing I have ever tasted. The gift bag is still in the garage behind the paint cans, the tissue paper's still going.